to have you grab a seat while we parallel park on the curve. Make sure you stay together with your peeps too. I don't want to get you separated. I want you to board with the people you came with, unless you're bored with the...
All vents open, 27, next launch, clear on vertical thrust.
Roger, arming 2 vertical thrusters. Dive, dive, dive! We did that part just for fun.
Destination Sound 3, 50 feet inshore, you have switched underwater telephone, have a green down.
Roger, this is Atlantis number 4, Whiskey Tango Echo 5533, switching the underwater telephone.
Alright folks, it happens one side at a time, so like starboard side will get a front row view as Ken goes around the reef, then he'll turn the sub around, we'll go around again so port side also gets a front row view. We get asked quite often which side's the best side. I want to sit on the best side, and I have been doing this 13 years, and I really believe the best side's the inside. So yeah, you're there. So we're just now starboard side approaching our south reef. Now when you see the coral on the south reef, it grows in the shape of flat plates. So we call it plate coral. And there's a big school of fish on that reef called blue striped snapper. Now this coral on the port side, there's a few different types here. You can see the light colored lumpy coral, that's our lobe coral, which is the most common coral in Hawaii. It's very hardy, grows shallow water, deep water. But there will be finger coral mixed around it looking like skeleton fingers, and then the round corals we call cauliflower coral. So our coral is basically named by its shape here in Hawaii. Finger coral looks like fingers, plate coral looks like plates. Yeah, the most prominent fish on this reef are the blue striped snapper. They're nocturnal, so they school during the day for safety. Over here on starboard side, you'll see some spiny sea urchins on the ocean floor. Sea cucumbers will be here and there, long, dark tubes. Every now and then, you'll have an eel poking its head out from under a ledge. Now there's some predators here, bluefin trevally jacks, that like to hide under the sub and sneak up onto their fish. You can see here on starboard side, the fish aren't afraid of the sub. They don't mind us at all. We don't look like anything that eats them, so they've always been very comfortable just being here.
How come you can't see the colors?
So fish that eat other fish use this as a hunting tool. They'll hide underneath this and swim out from under the sub to try to catch some fish unaware. Alright, Ken is going to be turning the sub around so our port side can get a good look at the reef.
You're welcome.
As many fish as are on the outside of the reef that we can see, there's just as many inside that we cannot see. A lot of space inside there. So most of these fish do eat algae that grows on the coral. There might might be a yellow sponge on the side of the boat as we go by. Beautiful view of the spotted eagle ray starboard side. Don't miss that ray. You don't see them every day. Yeah, well, SpongeBob's got a timeshare down here. Quite a bit. We'll spin around so the starboard side can get a look. So the good news for us, we were able to buy this for $1. We've had a successful artificial reef program over on Oahu and restored a lot of marine life there. So when they offered to sell us this boat, we thought this would be great for here in Maui. Unfortunately, we underestimated the permitting process here versus Oahu. Holes in the deck on each side of the cargo hold where the mast stood.
This one's cool.
There was air trapped in the cabin on the stern with nowhere to go, so when the boat finally went underwater, the air that was trapped in there blew the roof and back wall out.
Fish.
Ken and I were out here for an hour and a half that afternoon pulling bits and pieces out of the water. We were in our blue skiff that was parked back at the harbor. So we had about 4 or 5 boats that were doing cleanup after she went down. Oh, we sank it by pumping it full of water. We had a pump on our tugboat there on Roxy, so we just sucked water out of the ocean, filled it up with a hose, and went down in 27 minutes. So yeah, pretty quick. All right, we'll cruise around over here to the other side. Under the transom here in the shadow is snowflake coral, which is not natural to Hawaii. Snowflake coral comes from the western Atlantic, down around South America, is what I understand. And it likes to grow in shadowy places, not out in direct sunlight. So it's a softer coral. Ropes or line is what we call it. One's on this boss, one was up on the windlass forward. These bend with the current, so it tells us how the current's flowing, so our pilots can make good, safe passes. And if you've seen cinder blocks in different places, these are navigation markers that we use. Place them far enough away from the boat, we see it, we know we can turn around safely and not run into the boat. They don't hurt the environment. Use either cinder blocks or pink yard flamingos. Instead of use cinder blocks. Once the mast fell down, it gave us the opportunity to take the sub over the top of Carthaginian. So we're looking at the stern on the starboard side. The bow is going to pass under our viewports here in just a little bit. Might be able to even look down into the cargo hold. So port side, I think we might get a view of that ray again, hopefully. Let's see, you know, he's cut across the bow, so look just past the bow, you can see the ray winging through the water. Spotted eagle ray, can you see the white spots in the dark background? It's called a spotted eagle ray. It swims up in the water column. Hawaiian name of the spotted eagle ray is Ihimanu, which is magnificent in Hawaiian, which I think is a very appropriate name. All right, we'll spin around and go over the top one more time. You see the opposite end? Well, one other thing that we did, our university asked if they could use this as a research project, and we're all white-tip reef sharks around this boat, but haven't seen any today, unfortunately. Might can see a Moorish idol munching away on some algae on the edge of that cabin. Moorish idols look like angelfish. Anybody remember Gil from Finding Nemo? He was a Moorish idol. You guys know that Gil retired and bought beachfront property here with all the money he made off that movie? Yeah, he lives next to Clint Eastwood down in Wailea. Comes up to the west side once in a while. Head out to our deep spot. We get into shallower water to look at the sunken ship, and we're going to go back down the hill into the deepest part of this area. If you're wondering how we go up and down hills, underneath we have two I-beams that run the length of the sub, which allows us to land on the bottom like a helicopter. In between those two I-beams, we have what we call a sled, and it can slide 3 feet forward or 3 feet back. Got a hydraulic ram to slide it back and forth. And there's 8,000 pounds of lead on it. So Ken has just moved that sled 3 feet forward. See how we're going down? We came up the hill a little while ago, and he slid the sled back to have the bow go up. So just moving that 8,000 pounds of weight 3 feet in the direction helps us trim up or trim down. And we're pushed through the water with two 20 horsepower motors. So it's like an old Volkswagen Bug engine pushing this thing through the water. Our top speed is 2.5 knots. That's just under 3 miles an hour. All right, make sure your tray tables, your seat backs are upright in lock position. Flight attendants prepare to cross-check. We are landing in just a moment. If you want to get a photo of one of our depth indicators at the deepest part of the tour, there's one by Hugo and there's one by me either into the sub, and you should be able to get a good shot. Let's see how deep we can get. I'm not sure where the tide is right now. I know it's been on its way up. Oh, and you can see the Halimeda algae calcifying now. See all the white flakes in the sand, and some of the flakes are still on the algae. So yeah, sand coming from this algae, about 1/3 of our sand. Very few fish will venture out here though. There's no hiding places. Most of the fish, they need a place to hide. Anybody want to get out and stretch before we continue? We do have a tradition here at the deep spot. You give your honey a kiss, it'll probably be the deepest kiss you'll ever get.
What's your place for romantic?
I think so. Where some coral polyps found a place to land and start a colony. We're going to look at a reef called Keiki Reef, which is what we call our children blind or Keiki. They're young. And Ken says starboard side's going to get the first look at little Keiki Reef. So once we see it, you can see all the fish huddled right around it in the middle of nowhere. We've got a surgeonfish and a blue spine unicorn. Then further out is a male parrotfish. The blue spine unicorn gets a horn growing between the eyes. Another surgeonfish in front. See the white cartilage in front of the tail. And a little Hinalea trying to clean that parrotfish. A little yellow blue Hinalea chasing that parrotfish around wanting to eat parasites off of it. Now these little yellow blue fish have cleaning stations on about every reef. And there are some fish that go to a reef not to eat, but to get a bath, basically. And think about it, if parasites are growing on your scales and you're swimming through the water, then it creates drag. And you're